Okay, hi everyone. My name is Christina. I talk about whatever the fuck I want to. Last week I did film a video and I did upload it. I just never hit publish because I wasn't feeling it. So that's what's going on. Also, no makeup. I probably look really red because I didn't even put powder on or whatever. I'm just I wasn't feeling it, and I am probably going to have to wear makeup every day next week because I'm going on a little vacation and I'm in the office. So, I like to let the skin breathe. So we're just going to deal with what we got going on here. I don't think I look that. I just feel like I'm going to look red. So if I look red, that's why. Today we're talking about Doja Cat and Dr. Luke, as you can see from the title. So I am just going to get right into it. There is an Atlantic article about Doja Cat's involvement in contract with Dr. Luke. Article is linked down below, obviously. Most of this video was scripted around the ideas that were brought up in that article, but I do not share the same conclusions that the article does. And I'm mostly using this article and the research done in this article because of a question I want to pose. I think this situation is a good contrast and good example of how sometimes legality and morality and what's right legally and professionally, like industry business-wise, versus what's right as consumers and as people, are different. And how it's not always as clear-cut as it could be. So, first things first, before I even say anything about anything, right? Most of this video, I am talking about Doja Cat, the business, not Doja Cat, the person. One of the things we have to kind of start to learn to accept about pop stars, and this is one of my criticisms of stan culture, even though I'm very much a stan defender, this is one of my pretty strong criticisms about stan culture. One of the things we need to start to accept is that pop stars are businesses and personal brands, right? Here I'm critiquing the business of Doja Cat, and less about her as a person. I will say something towards the end about her as a person, particularly about how she as a person is handling this situation, but we'll get there. And I will let you know when I'm talking about Doja Cat the person, I will say this is about Doja Cat the person. But a lot of the times if I'm saying Doja Cat, I'm talking about the business entity Doja Cat. So the article in question that I'm working from is by Spencer Kornhaber. Kornhaber? It's a German last name. And he has a minimal Twitter presence. Thank God. God, I wish that was me. He's part of the Atlantic Union, so that's good. The article itself is mostly okay. I will tell you, I do have an issue with this offhand comment that it makes about Taylor Swift. And I will quote. The quote goes, it's towards the end, middle-ish. He goes, "See, Taylor Swift persuading her fan base to stream new versions of her old songs to undercut her business rivals." I feel like that's overly reductive of what Taylor Swift's issue is with, and the reason why she's remastering her albums. It's not about getting the upper hand in business or undercutting her business rivals. It's about a woman trying to own her life's work and her art. That's what it is. It's a shame that she doesn't own her art. I feel like it's not a business move. I mean, it is a business move, right? But it's also a move to own her shit because she wasn't afforded the ability to before. And I support her in owning her shit. I really do. But besides that, I don't get overly misogynist vibes from this article. I think this article is pretty solid. And looking at his other stuff, he's written about Britney. He's written about Kesha before. We will be talking about Kesha a lot in this, too. I think ultimately he doesn't have that much of a Twitter presence, and I did not do a full background check on this man, so I think he is okay. The type of topics he likes to talk about is typically pop stars and pop culture. So I think he's a pretty good dude. Now, if you go searching and you found out that he is violently racist, sure. But again, I did not do a background check, so I'm just vouching for this one article. I think this one article is good. Okay. This article uses this situation to state that consumers of music have power to slowly chip away at the continued power that Dr. Luke has. And while that's a statement, that is something, and I think that's a valid point to have, I want to explore what us as listeners to music should morally do in situations like these. Because I think that when you go through the steps of like what we kind of know is going on, that it ends up being more complicated than just don't listen to Doja Cat. And at no point in this video am I gonna vouch for that. Because again, I think it's more complicated than that. So, to clarify, some of the terminology I will be using in this video. I draw a line between somebody who is a listener of music and somebody who is a consumer of music, and not in like an industry way. The music industry really only like uses the word consumer to talk about people who physically go buy music, or like engage with music on Spotify or whatever, right? That's not what I'm talking about here. So the difference between a listener of music and consumer is music is something between, well, the line is between active and passive listening. So to me, in the terminology I have made up, consumers of music passively listen to music. So that's like you're in a store, you're in the grocery market, you're in the grocery store and there's music playing above at the store, or you're in CVS and there's music playing. You're in the car on the way to, you know, wherever, running an errand, and you just have the radio on and you're not really paying attention to it. When I was writing the script, I was passively listening to a Kanye West song. And so, I'll tell you right now, when I was writing the script and I just had music on in the background, like, I was consuming the music. I wasn't really thinking about what I was listening to. I was just it was kind of in the background while I did something else. My attention was not on the music. My attention was on something else. And that's the point. The point of this distinction I'm making is where your attention is. What I call a music listener, listeners of music, these are people who are actively listening to music. So you're at a concert, there's a performance going on, you're actively listening to the music because that's what you're paying attention to. It's late at night, you have earphones in and you're staring at your ceiling and you're really paying attention to the music you're listening to and you're really feeling it. That's a listener of music. If you're driving and you're singing along in your car, that's active listening. It's about where your attention is. It's the line between what you're paying attention to. Everyone is both. If you're a music fan, you're often both. I'm both sometimes. It just depends on what I'm paying attention to. My point, why I'm making that distinction is because, like, if you're a music fan, like I am, and you care about musicians and pop culture and pop stars and stuff, it's important to, like, it's important to know where your art is coming from, right? So if you're a music fan, you're going to more often be in that listener focus mode than you are going to be in that consumer mode. And you're going to maybe be like, oh, I like this song, oh, I don't like this song. And I think that it's important when you are a listener of music, and you want to go deeper, to know who your producers are, like where all the little mini touches of everything come from, right? And so when you have a producer like Dr. Luke, right? Like, I want to know that. And as an aside, and a hot take, let me tell you, as a hot take, I think most stans fall into the listener category more often than the general population does. Stans are gonna be the ones that kind of like really like go in and dissect this music, whereas, you know, I feel like on Twitter, and Twitter's not real life, I get that, but I feel like on Twitter and even like other places, like music journalists, they tend to value like organic success, but like organic success is not like reliable, you know, like you need a healthy fan base that wants you to succeed and wants to see you do well. And Doja, I do feel like Doja does have a healthy fan base that she wants her to do well. Listeners and consumers of music. I'm mostly talking about the moral. It's not even, I don't even want to say the word obligation because that's a really strong word here. The moral question that listeners should be asking themselves when knowing that Doja Cat and Dr. Luke have a working relationship with each other, and Dr. Luke is on a lot of Doja Cat songs. So it's important to note the relationship between Doja Cat and Dr. Luke. It's very vague. It's very vague. I will say Doja signed with Dr. Luke before any allegations came out. When Doja signed the contract, she probably did not know about what was about to happen. However, It's now 2021, post-Me Too movement that somehow skipped the music industry. Doja Cat's an international sensation with a #1 hit, and that same #1 hit, Say So, is also Dr. Luke's first #1 post-Kesha situation. So what did Dr. Luke allegedly do, and what did the court system decide? These are important things to know when you're making a decision about this man and who he works with, right? Kesha in 2014 sued Dr. Luke and said that he sexually, physically, and emotionally abused her. This is in the article linked below. And I will link other sources on Kesha. And also I will link hotlines and donations stuff behind. I'm not going to talk a lot about the specific allegations she made, just that. It was a long court battle. It was very nasty for them. Now, I do have to say that legally, the court system dismissed Kesha's case and sided with Dr. Luke in his counter defamation case, right? So the courts dismissed Kesha's case on both jurisdiction and statute of limitations. So they said that where she filed the suit had no jurisdiction over where the alleged actions took place. And even if the alleged actions did take place, there was too much time in between when they happened and when she filed the suit in order for them to be able to pursue it, right? The courts did also rule that something that Kesha said to Lady Gaga about Katy Perry counted as defamation of Dr. Luke. But let me be clear. Here's the thing. Those are both technical reasons, right? The courts never said anything about the truth of Kesha's claims. They never said that she was lying. They never said she was telling the truth. So there's still allegations that are just here up in the air that we don't know. There were never investigations into this. And as far as, let me be clear. I'm going to be very clear here. The court systems in the United States and the laws of the United States failed Kesha. It failed Kesha like it fails so many women every single day. It is actually a big fucking problem, okay? And now this is another distinction I want to make. There's a line in the sand here, right? The courts failed Kesha. The legal system and what has been legally decided in any of these cases is not the equivalent to moral or ethical decisions that should be made. The legal system and legal decisions are separate somewhat from moral and ethical decisions. Now, do you want to have an argument in my comment sections about if laws should follow perfect morality? Sure. I don't think it's possible for laws to ever follow perfect morality because there's a lot of gray areas and more in ethics and theories and all that, right? So all I know is that it will never be the court system will never be perfectly ethical ever. And so there's a distinction between the legal system and the court of public opinion. And I would argue that there should always be a distinction that the court of public opinion can act very different from the legal system, and that they can kind of serve to check each other almost. So if you want a more concrete example, that's not the Kesha example, let's talk about Black Lives Matter and that movement and protests and situations that come up regarding police officers and Black people. So cops that shoot innocent Black men are often not held criminally liable for their deaths because of qualified immunity. Right now, the legal system says that cops have certain immunities and exceptions in order to properly carry out their jobs. However, I would argue, and it is arguable, that that's not the right thing to do, right? It's currently the legal thing to do, but it's not the right thing to do, right? It's unethical for cops to have qualified immunity because it places them above other professions and other people. It gives them certain powers that literally it's not comparable to any other profession. And it's also immoral to give cops qualified immunity because of the abuse of power that's inherent to the role when you're trying to enforce the laws and you're trying to make sure that you have an orderly society or whatever, right? Giving them immunity from those laws gives them too much power, right? So do you see what I mean? And while I do think the legal system tries to do the right thing, it's very limited in what it can do, and it should be limited. So why I think that courts should aim to do the right thing, I also think that sometimes it's not possible, and sometimes it's just like it just fails to do that. So legally, the courts have decided that even if Dr. Luke did something wrong, they couldn't pursue it because of location and timing. And I would argue that's immoral and ethical, right? And unethical, in that they should have at least pursued it or given Kesha another way out because of how serious this case was. And because that legally, Dr. Luke was not found guilty. That means that legally there's nothing wrong with working with him, right? Legally, everyone has a green flag go to work with this man. I'm also not a lawyer. I do have to say I'm not a lawyer, so I'm speaking in very vague terms. But I do think that there is laws against discrimination of somebody who has gone through a court case before, and that companies can't be like, we don't want to hire you because of your Kesha case, right? Because of how innocence before proven guilty, blah, 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 that stuff. Like, that's why. I'm not entirely sure. It might be different state to state, but because he wasn't proven guilty, but he also wasn't proven innocent, but because he wasn't proven guilty, then you can't pass on him, like your reason for passing on him can't be that case. But however, I would argue the moral and right thing for these labels to do is to stop working with Dr. Luke, right? Because again, Kesha was never proven wrong. Dr. Luke was never proven right. And look at what happened. Dr. Luke got a #1 song in 2020, right? With Say So. And Kesha's career has suffered. Kesha has not seen the peaks that she had when she was working with Dr. Luke. So this is what happened. A woman spoke out about somebody that had wronged her, and she got severely punished by the legal system and by the industry she works in for speaking out against somebody that was a powerful man. That is what happened here. That's the situation between Dr. Luke and Kesha. And it's wrong that it happened, and it's wrong that Kesha didn't get justice. Because again, the legal system wronged Kesha, and she definitely did not get justice. And honestly, and this is a big if, Dr. Luke is actually innocent, he didn't get justice either, because that wasn't proven in court or in the court of public opinion. And so now it's dragging down other artists that he works with, like Doja Cat and Saweetie and Kim Petras, right? Where we have this question around him, and now it's just kind of there. And it's always going to follow him because it was never proven that he didn't do it. And it wasn't proven that he did do it. And right now, we have women suffering because of this man and because of this situation. Okay? Now, here's the thing, right? I still stand behind, even though I said that legally you can't discriminate against Dr. Luke because these allegations have not been legally proven true, right? However, the article does state that other artists that Dr. Luke worked with said that he was demeaning and terrible and an asshole. Other massive hit-making producers, the article specifically brings up Max Martin and Jack Antonoff. I think those are comparable cases because they're both very massive pop producers, right? They don't have bad reputations. So even if he is innocent, like, why would you want to work with somebody who has a known reputation, even before all this, for being an asshole? And that leads me to my next point. I think that there is a very real possibility that labels are forcing Dr. Luke onto their artists because he is a proven hit maker, and he still is. So I imagine that Doja in Kim Petras's old contracts. Today, it's kind of broke news that Kim is on Republic Records now, so I'm not sure about that situation anymore. But Kim Petras did work a lot with Dr. Luke. So I think that those contracts all have stipulations that Dr. Luke will be producing a certain amount of songs per album for them, like Kesha's previous contract did. Because, think about it. If you're a label and you have somebody and you're about to spend a lot of money to make somebody a pop star, right? Because pop star is very expensive. You need the clothes, you need the everything, right? You're going to want a return on that investment. You're not going to put that money out if you're not going to get it back. And if you as a label have connections to someone that's made an artist very successful before, then you're going to put that person onto those new contracts because you know this person's a proven hit maker, and you know that, you know what, just work with this person and we'll promote it to radio and we'll figure it out. And then suddenly you get your return on investment because you have somebody that you know the public tends to like their producing styles, even if they don't know it, and is a proven hit maker, right? Like, do you get it? Like, it's a good, like, if it's like, it's basically hedging your bets, right? If you know you have a producer that's a hit maker and you have a new pop star that you don't know if is going to hit it off or not, put them together, hedge your bets, and then you're much safer in the long run. So even if Doja didn't know about the allegations before signing with RCA, she might have heard that he was an asshole before that. She might have heard terrible things about him before that. And I imagine, like, you know what, like, I don't think Doja Cat's like naive, right? I imagine she probably tried to ask around about Dr. Luke if he was tied to the contract, right? And she probably heard about his reputation, which I'm to understand was very bad. I suspect that Doja probably didn't want to work with an asshole, and also that her contract has stipulations in it about Dr. Luke, and Doja Cat, the business, can't sever itself from Dr. Luke. So also, if you're curious, when I was looking up these people that were working with him, Sony Music seems to be the common denominator here. They seem to be kind of the ones backing a lot of these other smaller labels. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying anything about Sony Music. I'm just saying they're a common denominator. So, and also, if you look at the three artists above, right? I didn't mention, but Sweetie has worked with Dr. Luke too. I think specifically on Best Friends with Doja Cat, right? If you look at those three artists, those three recent, very popular artists, Doja Cat, Sweetie, Kim Petras, right? I named 2 black women and a trans woman who are people that are typically disadvantaged by the industry as a whole, especially someone like Doja, who is a black woman doing pop music, like, and doesn't want to necessarily be relegated to the R&B classification, because remember, like, everyone always says this, and so I am going to say it too. R&B, the difference between pop and R&B is the skin color of the person singing it, right? So, like, you know what, like, that's still an ongoing discussion, but I think that's a point that a lot of people agree with, and that I also agree with. These people are typically disadvantaged by the industry as a whole. I do not think that it's a mistake that Dr. Luke chose these types of people to make his comeback with, because who is going to cancel these women for taking the best opportunity presented to them, right? It just happened to come with the devil. They literally signed deals with somebody who was quite literally a devil, apparently. I keep having to say apparently and allegedly because, like, I don't want to also get sued. So here's the dilemma I run into. I think Doja Cat is a fun and creative and exciting artist, and I also think Kim Petras is too, although I'm mostly focusing on Doja Cat here. I think that Dr. Luke is probably in her deal somewhere, and she can't get out of it that easy, even if it's the right thing to do to get out of it that easy. I also think that Dr. Luke is a bad person, and I believe Kesha, because again, I'm not a lawyer, I am not a court, I'm not a judge. I am somebody in the public, I'm somebody who cares about music, I'm allowed to have that opinion, because again, has it been proven false? And the way I see it, there's a woman that's been very, very terribly wronged by a lot of fucking people, and I want to stand by her, so I'm going to. And so as a listener and consumer of music, I don't want to support this man, but calling for a boycott of Doja Cat will hurt not just the business of Doja Cat, but the person of Doja Cat, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. However, if you notice, and this is in the article, the artists I mentioned above are very, very careful when they speak about Dr. Luke, right? And like, they've been trained not to talk about it. They've been told by PR reps, just hush, 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 don't talk about it. Don't make it a thing. Just be quiet. People are going to try to make it a thing. Just don't make it a thing. Doja Cat herself has never mentioned it at all. And this is where my criticism of Doja Cat, the person, comes in. Nothing. Nothing, Doja? Really? There's not, you're just gonna hush, like, not say anything about it at all? Like, it's, like, right there. Like, we're all looking at it. It's, like, right there. I think Doja, as a person, is a little bit of an enigma, which is fine. I find that she's actually pretty private, super private, because I don't actually know a whole lot about her personal life. I know that she has this, like, crazy online persona. I know that she's a little, like, crazy. Or whatever. But I don't know about, like, who she's dating. I don't know what her plans are. I don't know what her whatever is, which is fine because she keeps her privacy that way. And I think more celebrities are just going to continue to try to do that and kind of keep private parts of themselves offline, out of the public eye, and then they just come out with their songs and their art or whatever, and you like it, you don't. But again, Doja, this man has very serious allegations up against him. You are not a judge or a lawyer or a court, and you have a working relationship with him, so nothing. And again, like, here's the thing that it might get people very angry with me. While legally innocence until proven guilty is great, morally and in the court of public opinion in the public, like, that's, first of all, doesn't happen. Take it outside of the legal system. It doesn't even happen legally, first of all. Second of all, like, it's not necessarily the best thing morally to assume innocence before being proven guilty, right? Morally, when you have a situation like this, the best thing to do is to blacklist and shun men like him, because men like Dr. Luke, like as described in Kesha's allegations, are men that just do it over and over and over and over again, right? So now I have to worry about the safety of these women working with him, and while I would hope he's not stupid enough to continue doing it, I pray that the people that I have mentioned are safe. That's what I hope. And so Doja, like, I know that Doja's contract is kind of tied up in it, but, like, not a single statement, nothing at all. And so, see, it's very complicated. And with this, I do have a point on cancel culture, right? I feel like we're getting to a point with cancel culture that it's becoming the better PR move for all of these people to just, like, brush over their shit, say, oh, I'm sweet, like, oh, I'm sorry or whatever, and then just keep going. Right? I'm seeing this with James Charles and David Dobrik and Jeffree Star. They get into whatever, they maybe address it, maybe they don't address it, and then they just keep pushing on, right? Gabby Hanna's recent video series backfired because of these controversies that she decided that she needed to absolutely fucking be right. And she keeps bringing up over and over and over and over and over again. For someone as online as Doja Cat, like, she knows that. She definitely sees that. And so I'm wondering if that's kind of her response. Her response is to just, if I don't talk about it, it's not a problem. But it is a problem because we still have this man who is potentially a predator working with people. And we're going to continue putting him in a position where he can work with young pop stars like Kesha was when she signed with him. And we're putting more people in potentially bad situations. So this is something that we really need to deal with, right? Like, there really does need to be, like, a Me Too movement again in the music industry, because for some reason, the first time it was just movies and acting and nothing really brushed up in the music industry. At least the pop music side of it, I will say, the emo and pop punk side will never be the same. For the better, though, for the better. Now comes the question, what do I think is the moral... Well, okay, the point of this video was to ask the question, what's the best thing as a listener of music, as a fan of music, as somebody who wants to see more pop stars thrive and be in really safe situations professionally, what's the best thing to do here? And I'll be honest, I didn't even write this part in my script because I don't know. I don't have a conclusion for this video. Which is like, really? I think this is what I think. I think that the best thing to do would to be not to do the same conclusion as the article below. The article below is like, if every individual consumer stops listening to Dr. Luke produced songs, that will chip away enough to get him to move, right? But I don't think that it works like that, because people who consume, on my definition, consumers of music don't necessarily look very into what they're listening to. And with the way that like radio and Spotify playlisting works, like there is an industry sway on it. There is. I think that maybe the best thing to do would be maybe to like get together and demand that Sony Music, who again is a common denominator in all this, answer to this, right? I think that we get together and we don't necessarily boycott Doja. Like, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that maybe we kind of like ask her to say something. I think that that's, you know, even if it's the dumb like PR statement, like I've never had a problem with Dr. Luke, okay, then at least you would have said the PR statement. Better than nothing. Wouldn't be the best. I think that going after Sony Music and saying, explain, like, why are you the common denominator between all these artists that work with him? I think asking these artists to show us the section of their contract that says that you need to work with Dr. Luke, and let us know the story behind that. The music industry is very male dominated. Like the higher you go up from performer all the way up to the top, it's just white man after white man after white man, right? So I will not blame Sweetie or Doja or Kim Petras for making a business decision like that. I really won't. Capitalism is terrible and immoral. I'm not going to blame anybody for their capitalist decisions, but these artists are at a point where they don't need that anymore, and that maybe it's not the best business decision for them anymore. So I would really like to see these contracts. I would really like a statement from Doja Cat. I would really like a statement from Sony Music. Am I going to get all of those things? Probably not, but that's where I think I would go from there. Like, I want to understand more about the situation and the nuances of it, because where I'm sitting right now, it seems like a giant label, because there is a common label between all of these people, or I should say common giant music conglomerate. Oh my gosh. Not label, because Kim Petras and Doja have different labels, but again, Sony Music is the one underlying all of it. From right now, it looks like to me that there is a giant music media conglomerate looking at pop stars and saying, sure, we'll take the risk, but you're going to have this non-risky person with that. The other thing I do think we need to do is we need to make Dr. Luke a risk. I don't know how we do that. To me, he's already fucking risky, but I don't know. Capitalists think differently than I do. So that's the video. I am sorry that it's like this. And that there's no real conclusion. Thank you for watching. My socials will be in the description. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I should say that in the beginning because of watch time. Next week's video, I have no idea what it's going to be about, but I do know in 2 weeks from when you see this video, so not next week, the week after, I will probably do a pretty in-depth video about the Activision Blizzard case and Gamergate and how they connect, because I made a couple TikToks about it and they have been spicy. So and the TikToks are not very well like researched or whatever. It's just kind of a theory and a hunch I'm going on. So I will definitely like look more into that and see if I'm right or not. Right now, I think my gut is that this case is like an inevitable end of Gamergate and what happened during Gamergate, mostly because of how the gaming community and the gaming industry are intertwined. But yeah, and I also think that that's a developing story. I think there will be more that come out in the next 2 weeks. So I don't want to jump the gun and do a video on that when I think that more information is going to come out. But I am definitely going to talk about it. So we'll see what happens. Again, thank you for watching. I love you, and I will see you next time. Mwah.